Welcome back to the Sales Docket. We are here, Tim Garner and myself, and we have an exceptionally special guest today who's been asked by many of our past docketers to come onto the show. So Canaan Himmelbaum, we are so happy you're here. The man, the myth, and the legend is here. First off, thank you. Second of all, tell us your story, man. How did you get into this crazy world? I know you were in-house and you came over to the dark side. Let us go, and then we'll dive into the questions from there, my friend.
Yeah, listen, credit is going to be where credit is due. Probably somebody everyone has heard about, Mike Dalowitz,
Yes.
was a college roommate, a groomsman at my wedding, and I was suffering in silence as an in-house lawyer in South Florida, fighting and negotiating every day in litigation, and got sued in a class action litigation. And inside of that, 2007, 2008, the rules changed, and all of a sudden here we are, e-discovery. So when Mike called and said, hey, you and your wife or fiance want to move up to New York and start working with the group, I said, sure, let's do it. So we popped in our Lexus two-wheel drive from South Florida, made our way to Brooklyn, New York in the midst of a snowstorm. And as you can imagine, a two-wheel drive does not do well in that. So that was my original insight into the business, and really started my career in full force at FIOS.
Okay. And dived into no paper you went straight into the digital world, and tell us what you're doing now, because
I do love when people talk about like bait stamping and blue hands, and I have no idea what that is. So, today I'm managing director. I run the consumer brands vertical at Concilio. I've got a team of amazing experts. I think you guys all know Derek Logan. Derek just came back and joined my team from the Hogan Levels Ultimate team.
Yeah.
I've got Sam Anderson on the team, who is 20-something years in the business. She was at Reveal Data and a few other different companies over time. I actually met her during a second request with Charter Communications 15 years ago. And then Nick Benvenuto came to me from Epic. So I've got 3 Epic folks on my team. We're really working hard from a client service perspective, just to make sure our clients are happy. Most of my clients are in the consumer brand space, because that's where I was an in-house counsel. But I think one of the things that Concilio is doing differently than most is really verticalizing as a company into financial services, insurance. And so I run the consumer brands vertical globally.
Very cool. Very, very interesting background, my friend. And you've got a name and a reputation, right? I mean, I think have consistently been bringing the results to any organization that you've been with. So kudos on that end. So I'm going to start a little bit further back, because it's kind of I've got some questions. So you spent kind of some years as a litigation e-discovery counsel inside of, and I'm hoping I'll pronounce it properly, Glambia. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it was Glambia. The company that we were a part of was BSN, and they merged into Glambia. And so my first initial foray into any discovery of any kind was a data room where we were doing merger and acquisition. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. They're charging me $3,000 per gigabyte to load my data into this thing. There's got to be something.
Those are the good old days. The good old days. So can I ask you a question? So, because I think I love this kind of shift, right? You went from inside of the legal department to an actual e-discovery vendor. Question to you: what do you see from inside a legal department that most e-discovery vendors still don't understand about their buyers?
There's a budget. There's a budget, and candidly, most of my corporate clients have been educated throughout the past 20 years of working with me about what a reasonable budget looks like, right? Because what will happen at the beginning of every project or every matter or every consulting engagement is, tell me how much this is going to cost me. Well, what we know, right, and I think Tim and Steve have been doing this long enough, you tell me it's a terabyte of data, and by the time we're done with the project, it's 20, right? Yes. And you want me to stay at the same budget. So I always say to people, the best thing that you can do at the outset with in-house counsel is If the law firm's introducing you, ask for the chat with the corporate person who's handling the budget. If it's the corporate person and it's the in-house counsel, but there's a budget person, just ask to have the chat. Like, what are your expectations? Let's talk about it, because I still think that's the one thing that goes sideways. You can do an amazing job on a project, nail it at every different turn, meet substantial compliance, and then the bill is higher and you're done.
How are you framing that conversation with these guys? I mean, is it just more of, we've done this before where we start with a terabyte and it ends at 20 terabytes. What's your expectations? Have you done this before? How do you approach it with them?
Yeah, I oftentimes lean on my in-house counsel experience to get that conversation in the first place, is say, look, I've been disappointed before, right? It was back in the $3,000 per gig days, but I've been disappointed before where somebody didn't tell me. And then I often say, like, I'm going to provide you budget updates every week, so there's no surprise at the end. And typically people are open to that. Even if it's a 10, 15-minute conversation, I like to set the expectations at the start. And then I would just give this advice to somebody coming into the business or somebody who's been in it a long time, is be honest from the beginning, right? The reality for me is you try to win the business and say it's going to be 10 gigabytes and you put in your bid and then it's 150. Like, we're doing a little house of cards, right? In my business, it's always been from the day I got here, the day I landed in this business, is just be honest, even if it's not great news, let them make a decision. And that starts with money.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Steve's always going to talk over me, so I have to shut him down, Canaan. I just want to say one thing. Like, you bring up some really great points, and I do it myself in my own business as far as having these conversations with the client about budget, right? Because you're right, you can do everything right, but if they were expecting a $100,000 bill and you have a $300,000 bill, that's a problem, or $1 million bill and there's $3 million. But you also talk about some interesting things about being honest, and communicating, right? I think those are key things that, probably have put you where you're at, let alone your experience in being in-house counsel and also now being on this side, but being able to communicate with your client, be honest. So your experience as an in-house lawyer, how has it helped you on the vendor side? The biggest ways that it has helped you on the vendor side. And the reason I'm asking that is because when we started, we work with a lot of law firms, and I got nothing against law firms, but now we're in a space where we're working more with corporate clients. And that's where you see the real value add for someone like us with the experience that we have. So where do you see that in-house experience helps you on the vendor side?
Well, I'll say this for all of the folks that listen into the podcast that are from law firms. I have a ton of respect for you all, right? I think one of the things that salespeople forget is that this is a circle of success between the corporate counsel, the law firm, and the vendor. And the vendor should really be called a partner. Yes. Oftentimes, if not brought in by the law firm, it's the misconception that whatever the corporate says is the thing that has to be. And sometimes it's better to have a meeting of all of the minds to say what's going to be in the best interest of the client, and making sure that the law firm has what they need to zealously advocate. There are times where you have a relationship with a corporation, and there are a lot of salespeople that make this mistake and they totally discredit the law firm. The law firm is a very important part of the process, right? Absolutely. And coming from Advanced Discovery into Concilio, one of the things I was navigating was they had a lot of corporate clients. I had both. I had a mix. So just sharing and teaching that methodology. And now Concilio does such an amazing job of building out playbooks and templates and workflows for law firms that we also have with corporations. And if those two things collide, we should get on the phone, right? So if outside counsel is Bob and Joe's law firm and the corporation is ABC Corporation, they both have their own workflows. It's coming back into center and saying, look, this is where your two versions collide. Let's talk about what's best for this particular matter. And so my team will tell you this, and anybody who's worked with me in the industry, it's slow down to speed up. The whole entire methodology is take your time, set it up right from the starting gate, and you'll be in a good place. I would say, just answering your question directly, having the in-house experience and working with outside counsel and understanding what their goals are allowed me to do that very well when I came into it. And it's interesting. I want to take you back to early days of my career, because I think people listening in might see me where I am now, right?
Sure.
At Concilio, and successful, and whatever that means, whatever the definition of success is. For me, it's having a great team that's doing amazing things for clients. But I'll never forget this. I moved from Brooklyn to Hoboken, New Jersey, and we had our first child, and I went to the light rail. So in the back of Hoboken, there's a light rail. It's like $1.75, and then that takes you to the path, or takes you to the ferry. And I had to get to a big meeting at Kirkland and Ellis for a bankruptcy case. And I put my debit card in, $1.75 declined. I put my credit card in, $1.75 declined. And I looked at my Bank of America app, and this is in 2011, and it said I was negative $3,000, right? Payday was the next day. I had to get over there. So I called my mother-in-law and I said, hey, can you ship me about $4,000 so I could get to this meeting? And that meeting in and of itself was the meeting that turned my career into where I would say, from a financially successful prospect, I got to that meeting. And I told the story in the meeting, right? Because when I say it's important to be humble, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, right? And so 18 years, the important part of this is you guys have been here that long too. You understand what the original gangsters of this industry look like, right? We were building the plane as we flew it. We were trying our best and taking that full force. I think a lot of people who come into the industry look at folks like myself or others that are successful from a financial perspective and say, oh, this is great, I want to get into it. It's not easy, right? You got to build the relationships. And so the other thing that the in-house world taught me is that it's really important to build the relationships.
Right. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And only thing that matters at the end of the day is your reputation. So be careful, right?
Amen. Amen. I've been doing this 30 plus years, and it seems as though people still like me. And that's the most important thing to me, you know? So
yeah. And I can say this, like, I've had it both ways, right? I've had people like me, I've had people hate me. And I never really understood it, you know, but perception is reality. And so in 2018, Concilio did something amazing and hired me a leadership coach, and really you get to learn about yourself, right? And so one of the interesting parts is they go out to 15 people that you select, one of them being my wife, which was awesome. My coach was like, yeah, I've done this for like major executives of major companies, and no one's ever asked their wife to do it. But my wife's been listening to me, as of both of yours, for a long time, talk about e-discovery on the telephone, heated or not. And one of the things I learned is that people, there were the words monster, money hungry, really harsh things to hear. And then the other side was heart of gold, would do anything for his clients, you know. So no matter what, right, as you rise to success or go up the ladder or the chain or whatever they call it, there's going to be both sides. And so you have to build yourself a community, a village of supporters and people that, you know, also are going to be honest with you, right? About like, hey, here's how you come across, here's what it looks like. And I've often been told that my email correspondence is not awesome, but my verbal is great. And so I should pick up the phone more. And in the last couple of years, I've been, since that coaching, right, and that coach is still part of my life, I've been told that those things now combine together, right? And so I would just tell somebody as they're growing their career in this space, just take your time and listen to the people around you and find someone or someones who are willing to be honest enough with you, right?
No, I love that. You're still working on yourself, right? Still developing.
Every day, like a sponge.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, we're almost perfect. And I say almost, but there's still room for improvement. I'll tell you that.
Because we married up. That's why.
We all outkicked our coverage. I'll tell you, Steve, I've always looked up to you. I'm not sure exactly why, I can't pinpoint it. But I will tell you, you've always greeted everybody with a smile. And I think that's an important thing in this industry is, you know, we're not too big for our britches. We've been doing this a long time. We're trying to help other people. And that's where I get the greatest joy too, is the mentorship. Especially with Greg Lutz, who was here at Concilio for a long time, and Meredith Kildow, who runs the show. They're just awesome people who are very, very, but, you know, then you look at Concilio too, huge player in the market. And I wanted to always keep that family style environment and service our clients under what I would call a boutique, because everybody loved the litigation boutiques, right? You know, and so I think that's one of the things with my core team that we try to do for our clients is no matter how many clients we have, make them feel like they're the only ones.
Yeah. Love it.
So AI is going to come into this because we've all seen this, and I think your career has seen kind of the analytics, right? And then now this move into AI, really from a novelty into kind of the standard practice, right? Do you think AI is overhyped today, or are you guys actually beginning to see, again, back to budget and economics? Are you beginning to see the impact of AI? And what does that mean for your business?
So no one is going to use AI if it's not cost palatable, right? So what Concilio has done is come up with ways to um, improve the client's palate. So remember this, right? Improve the client's palate to try it, right? Because in our world, it's when you say you're going to pay per prompt and this, like there's no predictability. So every in-house counsel wants a little bit of predictability. So if I'm going to use this tool, I need to be able to show myself some ROI. I'll come backwards to the beginning. We were all around in the predictive coding days, right? We've all heard this comment I'm about to make, but that was like, we're going to get rid of contract attorneys. It's over. Like the industry is going to fall apart. No, right? We're not. The human is going to always be very important, especially with AI, right? Because garbage in is garbage out. Good in is good, hopefully good out. I say responsible is the best word I could use. Responsible AI, right? What are we going to use it for? How are we going to use it? What tool works best? We want to be in cloud. We want to not be in cloud. How do we want to handle each individual case has its own meaning. So more importantly, and I think you guys probably follow Rose Jones, she's a dear friend, but we talk about this on the UF steering committee all the time, is like AI is not replacing everything. AI is making us more efficient. It's getting us to data quicker, but also at the same time, the trajectory of data is going like this, right? So like we talk about hockey sticks, right? There's more and more data coming. We need the humans to be there to educate and prompt and allocate the right amount of resources. My bigger fear, and I think this is a message to law firms in general, is don't dive too heavy and lose the first and second year associates. Those first and second year associates putting together those memorandum and learning is what happened for those partners that are now in their 60s and 70s. Like it's important to not do away with those folks learning, because 15 years from now, we're gonna have a big problem. Those folks are not going to have learned.
I don't think law firms want to do away with that because it's still billable. I think corporations are beginning to understand that there's automation that can be done where I don't need a $900 to $1,000 attorney doing some manual tasks. And so I think that piece is going to change. Law firms have to figure out what to do with those first and second years, and it's more strategic work. But I think that change is coming. I'm seeing the technology today, and coming over to Silo, it's been eye-opening on the platform from a full litigation life cycle. But I'm also seeing that, some of these, like the Harveys and the Lagores, we'll talk about them when they came out, like, I need an AI strategy, let's buy it. And they're really not beginning to see the benefits of implementing that technology, right?
Yeah, I think people are moving too fast. That's why I say responsible, right? I do believe the first and second year associates are going to become more efficient by utilizing the tools, but this needs to be prompted the right way. The information that goes in to get the AI to work, right? That has to be useful. We'll talk about search terms, right? Think about the most antiquated process in the world. Here's the complaint, young associate. Go write up some search terms. It's like, no, let's use AI to pull some of the initial data sets, run some search terms on it, see what works. Let's test it. Let's not just write on a yellow notepad what works. So if we're being responsible, right, we can still have the benefit of the $1,000 associate not doing 20 hours worth of work, but doing it and becoming a subject matter expert. So I'd like to see those first, second, third year associates become more subject matter experts than just running a doc review on a day-to-day basis, right? But if we're not responsible, what we're going to end up with is what we've already seen is hallucinations in case law, filings in the court from the top law firms in the world that aren't even correct, right? And it doesn't even need to be the top law firm. I mean, we're talking about solo practitioners doing the same thing. I don't have a problem from the perspective, and Steve, I think you're going to love this, like it assisting first pass review, right? It assisting in creating privileged logs and finding privileged information. All those things are great in the e-discovery business. I just don't think we're at the point, and this is the same thing with predictive coding, where we're going to tell the machine, here's what we think, and then the machine's going to go make all the decisions, right? Not even your own product, Steve, right? It's like we still need the human element.
Human in the loop is a real, it's, for now at least, it's as real as it can get. You have to be responsible. You have to look and validate everything that you're looking at. That's just part of it, right? That's for sure. But the pressure's building. Like, I mean, you mentioned earlier that you have both corporations and law firms. From an AI perspective, are you seeing them asking you, where's the efficiency? What are you bringing to my table? What advantage does Conciliary have over the other ones? Like, because it seems like, again, there's staple tools in the marketplace. You know, how do you differentiate as yourself going into a firm when they sit there and go, well, everybody's got relativity, people are using reveal, like, where's the differentiation today?
Probably like you, we built our own tools, right? And we listen to our clients, and we have the innovation lab, and we do all of those things that get our clients to tell us what they're looking for. And then they're beta testers, and those things go out to market. More importantly, I listen. Right? So we sit down with a corporation and we say, what's your AI strategy? GC said I have to do it. Well, no, wait, what's your strategy? And we talk about Copilot being released, right? We have a whole Microsoft Office 365 team led by Chris Hurlebus. He came to us from Microsoft, right? So he sits down with the client and says, okay, what are you doing with Copilot? What's your retention schedules look like? How are you using the tool? What are the best ways to use it? So I think the best way to do it is to educate, listen, educate, sit down, and help them grow. Come up with a plan. And it's not when the hair is on fire in a second request that you say we're interested in that tool. It's well before, and I use second request because everybody knows those are the biggest and fast moving. It's before that happens, right? Go to your corporate client, go to your law firm, show them your technology, talk about use cases and scenarios, but sit down and come up with a plan, right? I think we all saw this. Kirkland spent, I think they brought you in, but they've also spent $500 million was the number on AI. What does that mean? What are they going to be doing? What are they going to be doing better for their clients? We'll see, right? But also the smaller law firms need the same service, right? And these corporations want it from vendor partners like us, right? From Repario to Concilio to Silo. How do you pronounce the name of the company? Silo? Silo. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that, again, coming back, yes, AI is here. It's here to stay. It's going to make things better, more efficient. Just be responsible.
I'm going to take it back a little bit. So the whole point of this podcast is to share our experiences to the younger group. What are a couple things, and I know you have a pretty large team behind you and do tons of revenue annually. What are a couple things that you'd like to share with some of the younger salespeople coming up in this industry to get them to a point where they can have some longevity in the industry, be successful?
Listen, perseverance, number one.
Love that.
Look, nothing beats honesty and integrity.
Okay.
I had my 15-year-old son ask me this question last night. Daddy, how did you go from the $1.75 to where we are today? And I said, you know what? It's been authentic. Again, like me, don't like me, whatever your reasons are, and I'm, again, working on those things every day. It's about being authentically you, because it's clear that every single person we engage with is busy and has something that they need to be doing. And if you're going to go in and you're going to talk to somebody, ask for a meeting, you're going to have to bring in value. So I just say, for every young salesperson, don't run fast and spread everywhere, right? Think about it, slow down to speed up, come up with a plan. I often give younger salespeople, we started something at Concilio. I started with John Finley, who's no longer with us, but it was called Sky's the Limit. And essentially what I did is I took mid-stack salespeople through a 12-month basically training. And we did
Yeah.
everything from your own personal brand to communication to authenticity. And every month they had a passport and we went to a different country. We didn't physically go, and they got a passport and they got a stamp at the end of the month. And what it really was it's a way to really train and teach people that, like, you got to come up with a plan. And that plan, not everybody has baseball in their countries, but I likened it to baseball, right? You've got the plate, you've got the bases, you got the on deck circle and the dugout. Choose 5 clients, put them at the at bat. Choose 5 on the on deck circle and 5 in the dugout, and start to rotate them as you get them onto the bases. And focus in on them, care about them, navigate them, research them, show them that you care, get those projects through the door, do good work. Don't try to go after 50, 60 clients at a time. It's never going to work, right? And no one wants that phone call that says, I know how to process your data. We're well beyond that, right? So take the time to learn, understand the business, understand the industry, do your ride-alongs with more senior sales executives, meet people, go to the industry events. Everybody in this industry is pretty nice. I mean, for the most part, every industry has their people, but go to the events. Everybody wants to introduce everybody, right? You see Smiley Steve out there. He's got you. And you know what? The best part about it is we all respect one another. There's enough business. And if we respect one another enough, there are moments where maybe Concilio is conflicted out, or we need something like Zillow, or we need a tool that Repario has, that we're going to work together. And so that, to me, is the best thing about this business. I love what I do because I have an amazing team. We're called Team Evolve at Concilio, but also you guys, right? The Corey Douglases of the world, the Steve Rapps of the world, the Tim Garners, right? The people who truly care about each other. Yeah, of course we want to win. But at the end of the day, I think the youngest salesperson coming into the business, and that's not young by years, right? Because you could be any age to come in. You just got to work well with other people and collaborate. That's it.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. The authenticity of any type of relationship will allow you to work with people you care about, right? I mean, me and Rapp have known each other, 25 plus years? And, this whole thing started. He called me up, hey, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do no podcast. And, before I knew it, I'm having more fun on this thing than he is. And it's because of our genuine relationship, right? So
yeah, and I see you bust each other's chops. You're a good marriage. I like it.
I can't help it.
part of the DNA, bro. Growing up together. So Ken, I do have because I think it's I have met some attorneys who have turned into salespeople. A lot of them don't do well. I'm just saying that in general. Some do. You're an example of that. So I guess, did anything about being an attorney actually teach you how to gain? I mean, how did you make that transition from an attorney and very logical mindset into a salesperson that's putting themselves out there and trying to gain business? What was there?
Probably goes back to much younger years, right? My late father was a therapist, and we spent a lot of time on the couch. And then my mom was a hospice nurse, and we did a lot of talking openly. They always brought us around older people. They always had events at the house. It was about networking and meeting people. And the thing I loved about the practice of law was the strategic thinking. And that's what I love to bring to every day with clients, is like, here's how we can support you, and this is what it looks like. And my parents were never shy to say, always bring the expert in the room. Don't be the expert all the time. And so there are times where the client asks a question, I'm like, I wish I was the person to answer that question. I can bring someone in, knowing that is important. But relationship building has started since the early days, right? Competitive soccer player, played all the way to college, and felt like that put me in rooms and places that other people may not have been in. But the practice of law gave me the strategic thinking part. I just didn't like arguing with people all day, right? And that to me was like, why are you going to call someone on the phone you've never met before and yell at them because you feel your case is better than theirs? Now I get to be in a role where I can help people. And the best part about the business for me, you guys will appreciate this, is when the project manager gets the email for the next new project. and you're not even on it because
Yeah.
you did a good enough job to introduce
done.
that person and walk out of the room. And so I always say, like, that's the moment where I want to give the high five through the computer to the project manager, because they cared enough to want to have that repeat business. And you did a good enough job letting your client know that you weren't the expert in the room, that somebody else was.
Love that. Okay, you got a question? Because I got a couple more.
No, you go. No, that was a good question. Go ahead.
Rolling in the questions.
I know,
All right.
I know.
And it's kind of getting, we're in for 35 minutes. We got a couple more minutes, but to me, things are changing so quickly, right? I mean, they just are. AI is changing. People have to adapt. Law firms are trying to figure out their strategy. Corporate legal is sitting there and looking for efficiencies and cost savings. If you looked into the magic 8 ball and said, there's a big shift coming, right? What do you think that is? What do you think that big shift is? And what should salespeople be adopting in that shift? Like, how do you change? How do you keep up with this dramatic change that's coming into this industry that everybody's talking about, right? So what do you think the big shift is, and how would you handle that, or tell a younger person how to keep abreast of it?
Yeah, I'll say this, not to be cliche, but AI is going to make us all more efficient, and you have to grab onto the reins now and go with it. And you also have to be honest enough with yourself to know that it's not going anywhere, right? So for me, what I would tell the young salesperson is, if I had a crystal ball that told me what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years from now, worst interview question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But great for something like this. We're all going to be working more collaboratively together, right? You're coming up with tech, we're coming up with tech. We're all going to be working more collaboratively together. People want human interaction. We want to go backwards a little bit, right? My wife opened a Pilates studio in Westfield a year ago, and people call it their third space. And I was like, what is a third space? And they're like, well, you have your home, you have your work, and then you have this place that you feel comfortable. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe you created that. So it's also creating a third space for people, a place where you can be with them, you can navigate and build together. The relationship is more important 5 years from now than it's ever been, because people need to see you as an advisor. So when I say we should use this technology, and this technology, and here's why, that person needs to be able to trust what I'm saying, right? So most of my relationships are 15 to 20 years long. Every once in a while, I get a new introduction to somebody who someone says, this is Canaan, you should work with him, or you should talk to him, which is awesome. I love it.
Right.
I am always going to be the same person. Say, look, we can use these technologies. Here's how we can use them. And if you hear of another one that you think would be interesting, or someone pitches you, bring us in, let us look at it. I don't care if it's a quote unquote competitor. I don't see anyone in the space as competitors. Yeah. But if I'm looking 5 years from now and somebody's getting into this business, and we just started a new class of what we call CSAPers. These are younger people, or people who are coming out of college, and sometimes older people that want to get into the industry because they've heard about it or whatever. And we brought this group in, and my advice to them last week was, pay attention to your relationships. There's only so many people who are decision makers, right? And the technology is here to stay. Leverage it, support it, harness it, feel good about it, and learn, right? Always, every day, stay curious.
Love that.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. I mean, I even like the point that you said, even with this technology, we're going to have to go back a little bit to the relationships, right? Like, wrapping up both our relationship guys. And it's interesting because me and a client who's a friend, we took our boys out to LA and we're hanging out. And with this younger generation, it's odd to see where at one point when we first got there, everybody was in their phone, right? By day 2 or 3, they're starting to have these communications, and they've known of each other, but hadn't met. And by the end of the trip, my son, when we landed, he was like, hey, when are we going to see Tegan and Tristan again? And it's our innate ability, that our nature to be around other people and talk to other people. And this technology at some point has taken that away from us with these phones and all this stuff. I think you're just spot on with that. We need to go back a little bit and make sure that those relationships and you're in front of those people because it's needed. I don't care what kind of technology you have and how fast it can be done. I want to know the person who's helping me with this. I want to know the person that I'm dealing with, and that's never going to go away. So,
and it's a great thing because I saw this thing the other day and it's so spot on. It's like, what are the key mistakes young salespeople do, right? If you're taking a client out for dinner, right, you don't sit there and talk about business unless they start the conversation, right? It is more about getting to know this person on an individual basis and building that relationship. Like, and I see that a lot, right? The young guys you get out, they don't really know, they don't have the depth of knowledge or culturally wise, but just ask questions, right? Ask the person what they do, what are their interests, get them talking about themselves. It's been, I mean, we know this as a basic sales piece, but if you're going out for dinner with someone, don't start off with the business side, right? I mean, any other kind of major mistakes that you see younger salespeople doing? Tim, I'll ask you the same question because, we've all seen it. I don't know if there's something that any other advice that you give to a younger salesperson on the relationship.
Just don't try to be the expert and don't overpromise and underdeliver, right? Do the opposite. Look, I may be different than most people in the industry. I never believed in I've got to take you to lots of places to get your business. That just was not my style. Some people in the early days, we've heard all the stories and no one will be named here. But one of the things that always irked me was that group got the business because somebody dropped a cupcake off to the paralegal. Like that does not in any way, shape or form show how good your company is at what they do or how talented you are. So if somebody's paid their way through the business, kudos to you, but that's not the way that things operate. And so I just say, stay true to yourself, know why your company's successful, know why your company's different, step into those conversations. And you're exactly right. Go to get to know people, be authentic. You're going in to get the business. You're not walking out with the business. If you go in to get to know someone, and I'll say this, and you can take this away from the Sales Docket podcast if you need to edit it because it's going to be somewhat inflammatory. But I always say to people, the client is number one, money's number two. Therefore, you get peace. If you pay attention to money, you get what? That's it. I drop the mic and I walk out of the room because candidly, I've seen too many people do that. And then they're like, well, I don't understand why I didn't get the hard drive. And it's like, because you're so money hungry and this business will provide, right? It will provide. It will. And I think what you just said about your sons and in your family and being with people and listen, I've made some of my best friends in the world in this business.
Absolutely.
And now I get to work with them every single day. So,
absolutely.
Great. Yeah. All right, Timmy, let's wrap. This has been fantastic. We always end with one kind of question. I'll let Timmy, since I've asked most of the questions there, I'll let Timmy
I think he kind of answered it early on, with the move to Brooklyn. But what we like to understand is what was the moment in your career that you made this pivot from, whatever it was, being in in-house counsel to coming to this side or, from Concilio or advanced to Concilio. Was there a point in your career that you were like, aha, this is the moment? And it makes sense for me to do this now. What was
you might have thought it was Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And I'm not going to end on
first deal from Kirkland.
Not going to add on a sad note or a bad note, but I'm going to use this story to take me to 2018. In 2010, when I was working at Fios, my wife and I lost our daughter at 22 weeks. And really struggled with that, didn't handle it well. Wish I would have done some things better over the years. And I got to 2018 with that life coach and we walked back all the way to early days, right? Because she was always like that little inner child in Canaan, right? Like, and I was like, what the heck does that mean? Right. Meanwhile, I had a father who was a therapist and a mother who was a hospice nurse. But what fueled me for the 7 years or 8 years in between loss in 2018 was we started a foundation called the Hudson Shea Foundation. And now I'm on the board of directors at Children's Health Institute at Rutgers. And we're doing research on preterm labor, stillbirth, childhood disease, still, 16 years later.
Right.
But that fueled me to get to that point. And then what I realized is I needed to pay attention to the professional in me, right? And that's 40 years old, so probably about time to wake up and become a man. And I realized that this business was much more than money. It was much more than the success surrounding what was on your commission check. And at that point in time, that's when the trajectory went from where I was to where I am now. So what got me there is not going to get me here, right? And so, great book out there in the market. What got you there what got you there won't get you here, or what got you here won't get you there. Forget the exact name of it, but I've read it 1,000 times, so I should know. We went through a move yesterday, so my brain is a little foggy, but loss will give you a lot of perspective. And the village that you create around you will give you a lot of support and growth. And I can just say the e-discovery community has been a lifesaver. And I say that for so many reasons, because when you lose someone like that, you think a lot about your own life. Let's just leave it there. And so we all have each other. Tim, I think I've met a new friend on this call. Steve, brothers for life in many different ways. But I just say, like, look, from young salespeople, the ability to be vulnerable, open your arms, lean in, give it a try. You're not everybody's going to be great. I get it. But, again, coming back to that attorney into salesperson, I think in my entire life, I've always just wanted to be a partner to people and help. And so, again, sometimes you're given your mission in life by those angels that follow you.
Yeah. That's
beautiful.
Thanks
for sharing that, man.
Yeah, sorry for your loss, Canaan, for sure. We hear that. And that's an amazing thing. And I think the other thing really that's important, I think I'm also hearing like positive energy and being around positive people. And there's some clients that are not positive and that are negative also, and steer clear of those. Like, it's not worth that. I think we've all lost teaches you to be around the positive energy and be around good people. And I think there's some clients that are amazing friends, incredibly good people. I've dealt with some bad people, right? And I would tell right now, my tolerance for bad people through life's experiences is so small. Like, I don't have time for it. So I think that's another key lesson, right? I mean, you're young, you're struggling, you want to get to business, but know your limits and be around good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Protect you. I'll say this in parting. Thank you guys very much. I'm always happy to reconnect and talk more if there's specific topics, but I really appreciate what you're doing. I think our industry is just such an amazing look, we're less than 20 years old, right? If you really think about it, from the time we go digital.
30 for us.
No. The industry itself. You guys were DOS days. I get it. You Apple computer wasn't even out.
Listen, gray, man. You see this gray?
Yeah, I got you. And just be good to yourselves. Take care of your families. The work-life balance is key. We're not getting any of that back. And so, and have a wonderful weekend.
This was awesome, man. This was absolutely awesome.
Excellent. I'm going to stop recording. And